Good evening, everyone. We appreciate you being here. Thanks for joining us. I'm Christy Casciano.
I'm Jeff Kulikowski. We do want to get back to our breaking news on Syracuse's north side, Carbon Street, an explosion and house collapse.
We've just learned from the Syracuse fire chief that at least 10 people have been taken to the hospital. 2 are in very serious condition. 2 people still trapped. Let's get the latest now from News Channel 9's Andrew Donovan live for us on Carbon Street. Andrew, what else have you learned tonight?
Well, Christy, we were all listening as I interviewed the fire chief a few moments ago. That's the latest information we have. He mentions those 10 people taken to the hospital, 2 of which are in serious condition, the rest of which will continue to recover, but still needed serious help in terms of what the ambulance had to provide to them as they were leaving the scene. I'm going to have our photojournalist Scott zoom into the vantage point that we have. You can't see from our angle the structure in question, but you can see the front yard of it and this huge response, mostly of firefighters, but EMTs, Syracuse Police, National Grid, AMR ambulance, a lot of people here because what they're doing right now is basically watching the structure to make sure it doesn't collapse further. They're doing their best to hold up the remaining structure because there still might be people inside. The rescue crews are standing by when given the go-ahead, when it's safe for those rescue crews to enter the wreckage. Those people will go in and look for other people who might be trapped. The fire chief said as many as 20 people he was told could have been inside the structure. That's an unconfirmed number. That's only the number he was given by people who might know, and that's why they're not giving up on this. They're going to go in. They have about half of that accounted for. They'll go in to see if anyone else is inside. Obviously, the heat is a major factor in terms of the crews working, the firefighters working. We know that this was kind of a combination of perhaps a car crash, a national grid line opening, an explosion from that gas line, and then a structure collapse. Exactly how those events are connected, fire department leaders have not yet said. Right now, their immediate focus are trying to make sure there's nobody left inside that wreckage. The other priority, getting anyone who was here or who was hurt to the hospital. We don't have an exact detailing of the injuries, but the fire chief said it could be a combination of things. Obviously, if there was some sort of vehicle collision, obviously, if there was some sort of gas leak or chemical leak, people breathing that in. If that gas leak led to an explosion, you have burn injuries as a possibility. And then if the building did indeed collapse as seriously as it seems, you then have people who could have been crushed by that falling structure. What the fire department doesn't know is why there might have been 20 people in that home. It doesn't seem like a neighborhood that would have housing for that many people at once, but those are still some of the early details that the fire department has to put together in connection with the codes office and other city departments that are here. I will say that the fire chief tells us the neighborhood is safe. So if you're not involved in the immediate emergency but living in the surrounding area, you're safe. National Grid was here to contain any kind of gas leak into the air. I want to go to my colleague, News Channel 9's Jeremy Skiba, who's also at the scene. He was one of the first reporters here, which is why he's in a different location. Jeremy, what have you seen since you've been here, and what's it like right this moment?
Thanks, Andrew. I'm on the other side of where Andrew is, and the call came in about this explosion at around 4 o'clock. We've been here since 4:30. I'm going to step out of the shop for 1 second here to show you what's going on. Things are kind of starting to slowly die down a little bit. EMS personnel and police are slowly starting to leave the scene. As you can see back there, there's a blue tent. On the other side of that blue tent is where the crash had happened. When I first came on scene, I spoke with a few people who witnessed what happened, and they say that they saw a car crash into that garage. Again, that's on the other side of that tent, and they said they heard an explosion sound and a big ball of fire up in the air. As you heard from Matthew Craner, it sounds like gas was involved in this. Again, 10 people injured, a mix of kids and adults. They have been transported to the hospital. It seems like most of the stretchers, except one over there, but most stretchers have been transported from the scene. Right now, American Red Cross is on the scene, helping any way they can. And as before, things seem to start dying down here a little bit. I'm going to go back to my colleague, Andrew Donovan, again, who's on the other side of what happened here.
And we're back at the other side of Carbon Street, where we're watching these fire crews in this front yard of this home that's collapsed. These crews are preparing to send in specially trained rescue crews to go into that structure to see if there's any kind of someone trapped inside. The fire chief did not confirm that everyone was out. He said about 10 people have been taken to the hospital, with the possibility, the unconfirmed possibility, that as many as 20 people were inside the building or around the building when this happened. I'm trying to see who's in front of us. It looks like we have an assistant district attorney here, Rob Moran. It just gives you kind of a sense of what kind of scene they're dealing with here. Obviously, an assistant district attorney would be involved in any kind of prosecution, but this could also just be so serious of a response that every agency is here. I just want to point out that that's who I saw in the picture a moment ago. But down the sidewalk, you see these firefighters ready to not only support the remaining structure so it doesn't continually collapse without some sort of control, but also the people who are trained to go in are about to go in. We heard from the Syracuse fire chief some of the details, that 10 people were taken to the hospital with a variety of injuries, possible burn injuries, possible injuries from the collapse, possible inhalation of gasoline if there was a leaking gas pipe. And obviously we're hearing from witnesses, unconfirmed by authorities right now, but some sort of crash that maybe was the catalyst for this whole thing. There could obviously be injuries related to that crash. A moment ago, we talked to the fire chief, Michael Mons. Here's some of what he had to say.
At this point, there were 10 people that were transported to the hospital. 8 of them had advanced life support ambulance care on the way to the hospital, which is serious conditions. Initially, when they were taken to the hospital, there were 2 of them that were in basic life support ambulances, which is a lower priority ambulance call. We had a report between 17 of 20 people living in the structure. Right now, we have a report of possibly 2 people inside. We're still waiting to confirm that. So we're in a rescue operation right now. It's going to be a very, very prolonged rescue operation.
You now see Mayor Ben Walsh in the picture. The mayor of the city of Syracuse has arrived on the scene as of a few minutes ago. It's not uncommon for him to show up at anything that involves a huge presence of either his police or fire department, so I don't want anyone to read into his appearance here. It's very normal for him to show up at an elevated scene like this, especially if there's multiple people in the hospital, multiple city employees on the scene, and there are, far beyond the fire department, police department, city codes. Also the possibility of people in the neighborhood being startled by all this. Obviously startling that this kind of explosion can happen in a residential neighborhood on the north side. The fire chief does want the neighborhood to know that it is safe. If you're not involved in the immediate emergency, there's no reason to fear about what's in the air. National Grid has contained any kind of danger to the neighborhood. It would be in your best interest to avoid the area. You're not getting close to this area, and you're best to just stay out of the area for now. Jeff and Christy, as you can see behind me, these firefighters are working very hard in this heat because right now the priority is seeing if anyone is left inside that collapsed building.
Right. Does it appear, Andrew, as if they're about to re-enter that building? I know they're spending time right now shoring it up to make sure that crews can safely get in there. What does it look like to you?
You know, I would only be guessing from my vantage point. It doesn't seem like anything's changed since we've been here in terms of what it looks like behind us. That makes me think they're still looking to shore up the building, and they haven't sent those rescue crews in yet. There just doesn't seem to be the level of urgency, I would imagine, if rescue people were actually inside a dangerous structure. That's just my speculation from this vantage point, Kristen.
Yeah, that looks like a proper observation at this point. Again, we're waiting for new information to see whether or not anyone was trapped inside the building. We will continue to stay on the scene with Andrew Donovan, Jeremy Skiba reporting live. 10 people hurt, hospitalized, 2 are in serious condition.
Yeah, stay with us. We'll continue to update you throughout the broadcast tonight. Right now, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back with weather because obviously that's a big story too right now. Stay with us.